Good topic to discuss, nutrition intake and nootropic intake. This is particularly important because some ingredients in nootropics, or some nootropics themselves, such as pramiracetam, aniracetam, they are fat soluble. So you need to take them in, a bit like taking your vitamin E and your vitamin D pills. You should take them with a source of fat because that tends to kind of act as a carrier mechanism. Same with coenzyme Q10. It needs to be absorbed with a dietary source of fat to ensure maximum absorption and bioavailability. If you just pop pramiracetam on an empty stomach, you're going to get fairly poor bioavailability. If we look at vinpocetine, which is one of the chief ingredients in our most successful product, NeuroStim, if you look at the studies, they show that if you take it without food, the absorption potential of NeuroStim is, vinpocetine, sorry, is 6%. Conversely, if you take it with food, the absorption of vinpocetine is 96%. So we can clearly see a massive advantage to taking it with food. In fact, it's not an advantage, it's a disadvantage to take it without food. Taking it with food should be the standard baseline. Certain nootropics can be taken without food at all. For example, NeuroChill, the bacopa, the inositol and the phosphatidylserine can be taken without food, no problem. You may argue that phosphatidylserine, since it's fat soluble and a part of component of lipid membranes, you might get a better effect taking it with food or with fat. I personally get great effects taking NeuroChill on an empty stomach. NeuroStim on not necessarily full stomach, but with some food and some fat. NeuroChill on an empty stomach. Anything with vinpocetine in it needs to be taken with food. Pramiracetam needs to be taken with food. Oxiracetam can be taken on an empty stomach. Most choline sources do well on an empty stomach. Alpha GPC does well on an empty stomach. But just because something does well on an empty stomach doesn't mean you can't take it with food or with a full stomach. It's just that a lot of my clients or a lot of my nutrition customers, I like to practice periods of intermittent fasting because it's a good nutritional way to stay lean, build muscle, keep yourself insulin sensitive. So we get people saying, well, I don't eat breakfast, and I'm in the middle of a fast. How can I take my NeuroStim? Well, you could probably get away with taking 3 fish oil capsules, for example. That's only, people say, well, isn't that going to interrupt my fast? Not really. It's 3,000 milligrams. It's a total of 18 calories of, 27 calories worth of fat, and it's a good fat, it's omega-3. There's no such thing as bad fat, so forget I said that. Unless we're talking hydrogenated or trans fats, of course. Anyway, divergent. Okay, so if you're particularly worried about breaking a fast, in my professional opinion, 3 capsules of omega-3 aren't going to interrupt your hormonal profile, therefore aren't going to negatively affect your fast. You could have a scrambled egg, 1 scrambled egg with 2 scrambled egg whites, for example. It's a small meal. You could have your NeuroStim with that. Again, it's only protein, there's no carbohydrates. It's low fat. It's a low fat meal, high protein, slowly digested. In my opinion, something like that's a great meal. I personally start my day with steak and eggs. You know, not everyone's going to be into that. But the point is, if it requires fat, as I've listed, take it with fat. If it requires food, as I've listed, fat will do, but have a meal, for example. At lunchtime, I would hope that most people are considering starting to break the fast anyway, so you're going to have some real food, so they can have another NeuroStim, NeuroChill. But it is a valid consideration. What's the point in taking NeuroStim without food if the vinpocetine, which is one of the primary ingredients, isn't going to be working? So yeah, valid concern. Think about food. If you really have any detailed questions, join the forum at Mind Nutrition, and we'll do our best to answer any individual questions that you have.